There's a truth that most young men never hear, but once you understand it, it changes the way you see women forever. A woman doesn't just tolerate a man. She doesn't just stay because of comfort or habit. A woman can be haunted, obsessed, unable to forget the man who awakens something inside her she didn't even know was sleeping. See, women don't fall simply because of physical satisfaction. That might capture their body for a night, but it won't capture their soul. What truly libens a woman too? A man is when he wakens her spirit, her psychology, and that primal current of emotion running deep beneath her surface. Think about it this way. Intimacy is not just body against body. It's body, mind, and soul moving together almost like three instruments playing in harmony. If one is missing, the song feels empty. But when all three are tuned, that's when music becomes unforgettable. And here's where most men fail. They chase pleasure like it's a finish line, rushing, forcing, trying to perform. But Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "The secret of life is not chasing pleasure, but mastering it." A man who masters intimacy doesn't just give her a good night. He gives her an experience that marks her forever. So ask yourself, are you the man who leaves nothing behind, or are you the man she can never erase from her memory? Part 1. The truth about sex and connection. Most men grow up believing that sex is simple, that it's natural, that you just figure it out along the way. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Sex isn't something you just stumble into. It's something you master. Think about it. Most men only know one or two types of pleasure they can give a woman. But the female body, the female mind, holds 7 hidden keys of ecstasy. 7 doors Thetans open don't just bring her satisfaction. They bond her to you in a way she can't easily escape. And here's the danger. If you don't know how to unlock those doors, someone else might. That's why so many women drift into fantasies, even while in a relationship, not because they don't love their partner, but because they crave an experience that goes deeper than routine. To truly master intimacy, a man has to understand more than just anatomy. He must read her nervous system, sense her rhythms, understand her fears and unspoken desires, and above all, learn the power of restraint. Pleasure isn't just about intensity. It's about timing, patience, and presence. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once said, "The secret of life is not chasing pleasure, but controlling it." Apply that to intimacy and you become more than a lover. You become unforgettable. So the question is, will you remain like most men fumbling in the dark? Or will you learn the map of her desire and become the man she never forgets? Part 2, 7. Keys to pleasure. 1. Full body orgasm. Subscribe now, because what's coming next isn't just advice, it's power. And believe me, you don't want to be the one who misses it. The first hidden key to a woman's deepest pleasure is what I call full body orgasm. Now, this isn't to one single spot on her body. It's not just about touching here or there. Instead, it's her entire nervous system lighting up at once, as if every cell is singing in harmony. Imagine electricity running through her whole body, not just one place. That's what makes this experience different from anything she's ever known. But here's the truth. You can't force this. You don't just press a button and expect fireworks. This type of orgasm is built slowly like a fire that starts with a spark. It begins with the smallest things. That look in your eyes, the way you breathe near her, the whisper that makes her skin shiver. Those are the first notes of a song that eventually builds into something transcendent. When she reaches this state, it's not just sex anymore. It's meditation. It's a state beyond pleasure where body and soul dissolve into one current. That's why women who experience it often describe it as spiritual, even healing, and here's the part. Men don't realize, once she's had this with you, it leaves a mark. It creates a kind of hunger and addiction because she knows most men will never be able to take her there again. So let me ask you, are you rushing to the finish line, or are you patient enough to guide her into an experience that rewires her memory of what intimacy even means? 2. Clear orgasm. The second key is the clear orgasm. Now, this is the most common type of orgasm women experience. But here's the problem. It's also the easiest to forget. Why? Because most men approach it like pushing a button, like flipping a Switch, quick, shallow, mechanical, and yes, it works, but it leaves no real mark. See, the clitoris isn't just a button. It's part of a much bigger network of pleasure that spreads like roots through her body. If all you do is press on the surface, you miss the depth. It's like playing one note on a piano when there's a whole symphony waiting. This is where the difference between the impatient man and the master becomes clear. The impatient man rushes. He wants results fast. He wants fireworks now. And so the experience becomes surface level. Forgettable? But the man who understands, he uses the clitoral orgasm as a fuse, not a finish line. He knows it's the spark that can open the door to deeper layers of ecstasy. Think of it like fire.
A spark?
Can burn out in seconds, or in the right hands, it can ignite an entire blaze. The choice is yours. So, I'll ask you, are you treating her body like a machine with buttons to press? Or are y'all willing to slow down, to explore, to turn the clitoral orgasm into the beginning of a journey she's never had before? Because when you do, you're no longer just another man in her past. You become the one who awakened her. 3. G-spot orgasm. The third key is the G-spot orgasm. Physically, it's found just a few centimeters inside on the front wall of the vagina, but if you think this is just about hitting the right spot, you've already missed the point. The G-spot isn't just a physical trigger. It's emotional dynamite. When awakened, it unlocks something primal in a woman. Something far deeper than surface-level pleasure. Here's the mistake most men make. They rush. They treat the G-spot like a target to hit. Or worse, they obsess over making her squirt, as if that's the trophy. That impatience destroys the very magic they're chasing. Because this isn't about technique alone. It's about trust. The man who truly masters the docent chase squirting, he criticity. He builds an atmosphere where Ash feels free to let go, to surrender without fear of being judged or rushed. Only then can her body open fully, not just physically, but emotionally. And when it happens, something profound is released. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This isn't just chemistry, it's biology forging a deeper connection between two people. Think about that. While most men are scratching at the surface, the wise man is patient. He understands that what makes this orgasm unforgettable isn't just the sensation. It's the way it t-shirt to him at the level of her nervous system. Her emotions, even her biology. The Stoics taught that mastery is never about chasing outcomes, but about discipline and presence. That's exactly what this requires. Patience, restraint, and the willingness to let her body choose the pace. So the real question is, are you rushing toward trophies? Or are you building the kind of trust that makes her body answer with an instinct older than words? Because since you've awakened her G-spot in the right way, she will never forget the man who gave her that freedom. 4. Blended orgasm, clitoral plus G-spot. The fourth key is the blended orgasm when the clitoral and the G-spot awaken together. Now, imagine two rivers colliding, merging into one unstoppable current. That's what this is. It's not just pleasure. It's a flood that takes over her entire nervous system. It shakes her body, but more than that, it imprints something deep into her memory. But there's the truth. This is rare. Most men never guide a woman here. Why? Because it requires patience, coordination, timing. You can't rush it. It's like trying to force two flames to dance. You don't smash them together. You nurture them until they merge on their own. The impatient man chases one climax, grabs what he can, and calls it victory. Any man can do that. The question is, can you guide her to this union of sensations? So profound, it becomes part of who she is. Because if you can, you'll never just be remembered. You'll be unforgettable. 5. Cervical orgasm. Before we go further, pause for a second. If this resonates with you, if you're beginning to see intimacy as something deeper than just friction and release, make sure you'll subscribe to this channel, because what I am about to share is not just information, it's transformation. Now, let's step into the fifth key, the cervical orgasm. This is not common. This is not quick. This is not for men who chase shortcuts. The cervical orgasm lies deep within her, both physically and emotionally. And here's the truth, without absolute safety, without trust, without patience, it doesn't open. Attempt it recklessly, and it becomes pain. But guided with care, it transforms into something primal, something sacred. When it happens, it doesn't just shake her body, it shakes her soul. Some women cry, some tremble, some cling to you as if the world itself is collapsing around her. Because in that moment she's not just experiencing pleasure. She's releasing emotions she's been carrying for years. Why is this so powerful? Because the cervix is tied to the deepest layers of femininity, the seed of creation, the echo of birth, the place where life begins. To awaken that is to touch her at the core of her womanhood. And here is the consequence. Once she's been there with you, no other man will easily replace you. Not because of ego, not because of performance, but because you've guided her to adore very few men even know exists. But remember, this is not something to chase every night. This is not a trick. This is a rare gift, a ceremony, something that when it happens marks her memory forever. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." In intimacy, her soul becomes dyed with the depth of experiences you give her. And the cervical orgasm done right is a color that never fades. 6. Anal orgasm. Now, let's move into one of the most misunderstood and controversial territory of intimacy. For many, just hearing the word sparks discomfort, taboo, even judgment. But here's the truth when approached with ignorance or impatience. Yes, it can cause pain. It can shut her down. It can even damage the trust between you. That's why so many men fail here. They rush, they assume, they push where they should guide. And in doing so, they destroy the very possibility of leisure. But when approached with patience, care, and above all, trust, this experience transforms. The nerve endings there are powerful, the sensation's unique, and for many women, it opens a doorway to a pleasure they never imagined. It's not just physical, it carries a psychological weight. Why? Because it feels forbidden, secret, something not easily shared. And when she allows you into that space, it becomes an act of complete surrender. Think about it. In a world where she may give parts of herself to others, her smile, her conversation, her time, this is one part of her that feels untouchable. When she offers it to you, it carries the weight of exclusivity. It says, it trusts you in places no one else has gone. And that creates a bond far deeper than the surface-level rush Mosman chase. But let me be clear, this isn't for conquest, not for bragging rights, not to tick a box on some list of fantasies. It's for the man who understands that intimacy is about expansion, not exploitation. For the man who knows that sometimes the deepest connection comes not from taking, but from being trusted to lead her through the places she was unafraid to go. Seneca once wrote, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." In this space, if you both approach it without fear, without rush, without demand, it becomes exactly that, a present moment. Raw, vulnerable, unforgettable. 7. Now, let's talk about one of the most underestimated sources of pleasure. Most men think of a woman's chest only as something to touch, to kiss, to admire. But what they don't realize is that nipples are directly wired to the same pleasure centers in the brain that respond to the genitals. This means that for many women, nipple stimulation isn't just a warm dash up. It can be the main event. Yes, some women can reach orgasm solely from their breasts being touched, kissed, or sucked. But here's the deeper truth. It's not only about sensation. The breasts are symbols of nurturing, a feminine energy of intimacy that goes far beyond lust. When you touch her there with presence, with reverence, you're not just igniting her body, you're awakening something ancestral in her spirit. You remind her of her softness, her power, her ability to give and receive life. And when this form of leisure is combined with others, whether clitoral, G-spot, or full body, it acts like an amplifier. It doesn't just add another note to the symphony. It makes the entire orchestra play louder, richer, more overwhelming. That's why nipple play can often be the missing link that pushes her over the edge into a full-body orgasm. But here's where most men fail. They rush it. They treat it like a button to press instead of an instrument to play. The nipple is delicate, too rough, and it hurts. Too mechanical, and it feels empty. What she craves is rhythm, variation, patience, like the ocean waves caressing the shore. Sometimes gentle, sometimes intense, but always alive. So ask yourself, When was the last time y'all slowed down enough to discover what her just truly responds to? When was the last time you honored that space? Not just with your hands or your lips, but with your full attention. Because in themed, the nipple orgasm is not just about arousal. It's about connection. It's about showing her that every part of her body deserves to be seen, cherished, and celebrated. And when you do that, she'll remember you, not just with her body, but with her soul. Part 3, Meaning and Philosophy. Now, let's step back and look at the bigger picture. These 7 keys we've been talking about, they're not tricks. They're not pickup lines or bedroom hacks to manipulate a woman. They are gateways to unlocking the deepest potential of her body, her emotions, and her soul. Because here's the truth. Any man can make her feel a moment awfully sure. But very few men can make her feel remembered in her bones, in her breath, in her heart. That's the difference between being just another man and being the man she can never forget. And this is where philosophy meets intimacy. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Happiness depends on very few things."
He wasn't talking about sex, but the principle is same.
You don't need 1,000 techniques. You don't need to overwhelm her with gimmicks. What you need is mastery of a few timeless truths. Patience, presence, and reverence for her being.
Think
about it. If you can command yourself, if you can control your hunger and replace it with attention, if you can turn your disarray into devotion, then suddenly you're not just touching her body, you're touching her existence. You become the mirror in which she sees her deepest femininity reflect back. And that is why theses even orgasms matter. Not because they're trophies, not because they make you more of a man by checking them off a list, but because they demand of you a higher standard. They ask you to slow down, to study, to feel, to lead her into places she didn't know she could go. So the question is this. Will you settle for being another man who passes through her life? Or will you rise to become the man who awakens her body and soul and leaves a mark she will carry forever? Because mastery in the bedroom, like mastery in life, is not about tricks. It's about truth, and truth, once touched, can never be forgotten. So here we arrive at the final truth. Intimacy, real intimacy, is never just about bodies colliding in theatric. It's a union of psychology, biology, and spirit. A weaving together of mind, flesh, and something far deeper that we can't fully name. Most men confuse sex with release, but release is fleeting. What women crave and what few men ever master is resonance. That lingering vibration in her chest, her memory, her very subconscious. When you know how to open all 7 doors, you stop being just a partner in a moment. You become etched into her being. Think of it like this. The body is a landscape. Most men wander through, take what they want, and leave no trace. But the man who moves with patience, who listens to the unspoken, who guides her into her own hidden depths, he becomes a storm that reshapes the land itself. She will not just remember him. She will carry him. And that's not manipulation. That's not conquest. That's legacy, because in awakening her, you awaken yourself. You tap into your own primal masculinity. The part of you that is both warrior and poet, both disciplined and tender. The part that Marcus Aurelius himself would recognize. A man who commands himself first and it. Command moves the soul of another. So understand this. True intimacy is not measured in orgasms, but in impact. When you learn to open all 7 gates, you don't just touch her body. You leave a permanent mark on her memory, her emotions, and her subconscious. And in a world full of men rushing, pretending, and forgetting, the men who can do this become unforgettable. If what I shared today resonates with you, don't just stop at listening. Turn that understanding into action. Subscribe to this channel right now so you won't miss the deeper lessons ahead. Share this video with a friend because who knows, that small act might completely change the way they see love and life. And remember, this is only the beginning. What's coming next will open doors you never thought existed. So stay. Walk this journey with us and get ready for the next chapter.